Welcome to Hot Springs, South Dakota, the southern gateway to the Black Hills. Upon arriving, make sure to stop at the Visitors Center to learn more about everything there is to do in Hot Springs. Fun fact, this Visitor Center was once considered the smallest Union depot in the country. In the early 1890s, the railroad lines brought people from far and wide to visit Hot Springs' natural warm mineral spring waters. Today, the old depot still welcomes guests, just as it did over 125 years ago. This is Kidney Springs, located just down the street from the Visitor Information Center.
As you take your stroll through the town, stop by and have some natural mineral water that's pouring right out of the mountain. It's safe, it's clean, and it's good for your kidneys.
This is just a starting point, though. We have a lot more to show you.
Built in 1890 by local businessman Fred Evans, Evans Plunge sits over one massive spring, including several smaller ones. It is one of Black Hill's oldest attractions. Year-round, the water is a warm 87 degrees and features both an indoor and outdoor pool. Evans Plunge also provides a health club, steam room, and sauna. Make sure you take the plunge when you visit Hot Springs.
About 10 miles south of town, on Highway 71, is Cascade Falls, the old swimming hole of Hot Springs. Also, don't forget to check out its source, Cascade Springs, just up the road at Keith Park, where you can have a picnic in its natural environment.
There's one other place to soak in the warm mineral water. Just a couple blocks north of Evans Plunge is Chautauqua Park, a city park unlike any you've seen before. Explore the area, soak in the bubbling waters of the Fall River, or have a peaceful picnic in the shade.
Hot Springs is an outdoor lover's paradise, with something for nearly everyone to do. About 13 miles south of Hot Springs lies Angostura State Reservoir. With breathtaking scenic views, Angostura offers crystal clear waters, 36 miles of shoreline, and some of the finest sandy beaches in the state. Angostura boasts many water sports and summer fun activities.
Hot Springs is home to 3 different lakes. Close to town are Coldbrook Lake and Cottonwood Lake. Both are operated by the Army Corps of Engineers and offer opportunities for camping, fishing, non-electric boating, and much more. Woo doggy! This town sure has a lot of water.
It's called Hot Springs for a reason.
I can see that. And make sure you take a trip on the Freedom Trail, where it's the best way to discover downtown Hot Springs. The Freedom Trail is 1.25 mile stretch from Kidney Springs all the way to Mueller Civic Center. In between, you'll visit 2 city parks, Centennial Park and Brookside Park. Along the way, keep your eyes peeled for some wildlife. You'll also want to make sure to stop for a photo in front of the historic mural, From Sea to Shining Sea, on the side of the American Legion building and at the waterfall, which also lights up at night.
Hot Springs' largest city park is Butler Park. In the early 20th century, it was used for horse racing, but now Butler Park has playgrounds, a skate park, walking trails, and sports fields. It is located right next to Hot Springs Public Library, which is in a log building overlooking the Seven Sisters mountain range. The public library has a huge selection of books, movies, and much more. Plus, they provide free Wi-Fi and public computers.
Tee off at the 18-hole Southern Hills Golf Course, arguably the best golf course in the Black Hills. It's a short, undulating course that will have you using every club in your bag. Enjoy the backdrop of Seven Sisters Mountain Range and Battle Mountain while playing on the rolling terrain through the majestic Ponderosa Pines. When you're finished with your game, be sure to relax and have a cold drink at the clubhouse. You know, there is a lot of history in this small town.
And believe it or not, it all starts with the springs. Hot Springs doesn't just cater to lovers of the outdoors. It also has plenty of activities for people more interested in history and science. The mammoth site of Hot Springs is world-renowned as the largest collection of mammoth bones in North America. More than 26,000 years ago, large Columbian and woolly mammoths were trapped and died in a springs-fed pond. The bones lay buried for centuries until discovered by chance in 1974 during excavation for a housing development. Today, the bones sit as they were discovered, in an on-site exhibit in the original sinkhole.
The Fall River County Pioneer Museum is a testament to the legacy of the early founders of the town. Located in the original sandstone schoolhouse on the hill, the Pioneer Museum features exhibits about how Hot Springs' distinct sandstone buildings were created and about the ranchers who settled the area and the tools they used. It features a post office, general store, doctor's office, and even an original classroom. Some of you may have seen the Flat Earth map in National Geographic. It was designed by an early Hot Springs man who didn't believe the world was round. It's fun to see, and there are only 3 originals left.
Historic downtowns are a dime a dozen, but Hot Springs is truly distinctive. The buildings are made out of a locally quarried pink sandstone, and most of them were built in the late 19th century. Today, many of them are filled with gift shops, restaurants, and art galleries.
Did you know Hot Springs was designated in 2014 by the state of South Dakota as the Veterans Town? Hot Springs is home to the Michael J. Fitzmaurice South Dakota State Veterans Home and to the Battle Mountain Sanitarium National Historic Landmark. It's a great place for giving veterans a peaceful place to retire.
Hey Chris, do you know what this is?
Looks like a rubber ducky.
No, it's a firecracker.
What is a firecracker?
A firecracker is a duck with a number written underneath it, which is entered into a duck race. You can chase it downstream once you purchase your ticket and root for it to win. This event's held every 4th of July. Speaking of which, did you know Hot Springs is one of the best places to spend the 4th of July?
That makes sense. It is the Veterans Town after all.
On the 4th of July, Hot Springs comes out in full force to celebrate our nation's birthday. The day begins with foot races varying in distances at Chautauqua Park. Then, a bit later in the morning, the parade brings out the city's many organizations, including everything from Miss South Dakota participants to the local fire department. Shortly after the parade is the Firecracker Duck Race. Watch hundreds of rubber ducks float downstream. Later in the day, a Demolition Derby takes place, where you can watch several cars take each other out in the pit. It's a blast for the whole family. Then comes the moment everyone's waiting for. At dusk, the city lights up the sky with the grand fireworks show, wrapping up a perfect 4th of July. Summer in Hot Springs is busy from beginning to end. In June, Hot Springs hosts the Miss South Dakota pageant, which has been home to since the very beginning, almost 70 years ago. And later on in the month, you can catch the Main Street Arts and Craft Festival at Centennial Park.
Just 15 miles south of Hot Springs on Highway 71 is the Black Hills Wild Horse Sanctuary. It was founded by preservationist Dayton Hyde. It was formed in the late 1980s as a way to rescue wild mustangs from captivity and protect the natural western environment of the true Wild West of South Dakota. Guided tours and donations support over 600 wild horses and 11,000 acres of open land. On tour, you'll get up close and personal with real wild mustangs and see the true West as it was thousands of years ago. You'll also get the chance to see rare petroglyphs from the indigenous people.
Try your luck at Prairie Wind Casino and Hotel, located southeast of Hot Springs, where you can win it big at one of their slot machines or card tables. A mere 7 miles to the north of Hot Springs sits Wind Cave National Park, where swaying prairie grasses, forested hillsides, and an array of wildlife welcome you. You'll get the chance to see buffalo, prairie dogs, pronghorns, and much, much more. Take in the beauty of the park through its scenic drives or one of their many hiking trails. Underneath it all is the world's 6th longest cave, Wind Cave, named for its barometric winds at its entrance. You can tour the cave and explore their on-site museum. There's a reason a trip to Hot Springs is considered a vacation all on its own.
Yes, sirree. You folks need to add a couple more days to your trip to experience everything Hot Springs has to offer.
And as Badger Clark said simply and best, you'll like Hot Springs.